Mangoes, mangoes, this is the way. Where is everyone then, eh? Right, so, what was that? We had a fly, but
the waitress.
Yeah,
that's the waitress. Yeah, she's bringing me my drinks.
Brilliant. Right, hello and welcome to the show. This is Banter Boxes 11. We're talking about Scum and Villainy in this episode. I'm your host, Mandalorian, the X-Wing Jesus. And over there is Ham Solo.
Evening all.
Smuggler of quality meat products. And what else are you smuggling today, Dave?
Some fine brandy. Oh no, whiskey actually. Close enough.
From the Cantina on Moss Isley. We'll talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah, they're all out of blue milk.
And then we've also got down there is C3 Barlow, human cyborg relation of a protocol droid. How you doing? Right.
Yeah. Good.
And I believe you're at the Galaxy's Edge there as well.
Well, when you're in town, you got to stop by, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. So today we're talking about Scum and Villainy in a general sense. Start with Moss Isley. So Obi-Wan said, there has never been a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. So, and he was obviously posh and looking down on all that at the same time. So we've kind of got this the wrong way round. So like the little smuggler over there, he should be down there, and the droid should be up here, so we could look down on the smuggler in
possibly, but that would mean that the droid is posh, and also, I'm the posh one, aren't I?
Oh yeah, that was last episode, wasn't it? There we go. So let's talk about Moss Isley and Tatooine for the start, because that features quite a lot of scum. He's all based on Tatooine in all the films and everything. Then we'll get onto some of the other stuff once we get out of Tatooine. So the Cantina, that's our first look at Scum and Villainy. And Dave's in there mixing with the patrons of the Cantina. I mean, does anybody know the name of the Cantina, or is it just the Cantina? Is there that?
I did know the name of the Cantina. It begins with a C. Cufflows or something like that. Google. Would I Google? I obviously know this knowledge by the back of my hand. But no, I seem to remember it is it's Cufflows or something like that.
Yeah. So what we have?
No, sorry, Chalmers. Chalmers, it's come back to me completely spontaneously.
There seems to be quite a lot of dodgy characters in that Cantina. I mean, we flash around all the various aliens in A New Hope, but we also, our first run-in is was it Dr. Evzra or something like that, and Ponda Baba. They have a little altercation with Mr.
Ponda Baba, or Bumface, as he was known to his friends.
Well, we used to call him Fanny Face. That's how he was in our little group. So
wow. Okay, I could imagine that if it was an American, but I definitely didn't dare use the F word. Oh, hearing me.
Yeah.
Family show.
First F word, but we won't be going into that F word here. Anyway, so we see wanted on 12 systems. Whether he actually was or not, we do see him in Rogue One as well, being rather obnoxious, and that's quite a bit of a leap to get from Jeddah straight into the fire at Moss Isley as well, back on Tatooine. That's a little weird little cameo that he had in there. But straight away we see, he's just begging for a bar fight, isn't he? So that's a bit of a weird one.
We've all met them in any pub we've been in.
What's that?
He's got some weird brags saying he's got death certificates on 12 systems or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
It's like, Basically, is he saying he's hard, or is he saying he's incredibly wanted? And considering he's surrounded by bounty hunters, kind of a bold statement.
Yeah, incredibly stupid, more like.
He can't handle his blue milk, mate.
What was you saying?
I was saying he's a typical thug that everyone's met down a pub at one point in their lives. You know, that they get a couple of drinks in them and start mouthing it off everywhere. Most of it's probably not true.
Yeah, saying outrageous things like doing the Kessel Rung in 12 parsecs. I mean, honestly, what kind of mug would say that in a pub?
Well, the thing is, he was asking for it, weren't he? Really, and I think he was all scarred up. So he never learned previous lessons there, did he? But
well, exactly. And what we found out is after a few minutes of Obi-Wan, it turns out he was really harmless. But boom.
But then, you know, we then meet start again. We then meet Han Solo. Obviously, you know, not all the den of hive of scum and villainy is that bad, because Han actually turns out to be quite good with Chewbacca as well, even though they are desperados, aren't they? Really. I mean, we see him in Solo, and they're up to no good in that. And then we see him, you know, he's a good-natured desperado, but, you know, he's still quite a desperate character and up to no good.
Yeah, I mean, the way they set him up with being in kind of the back of the bar with, you know, at a table just having a drink, and you got the, obviously the whole scene with the gun under the table and ready to shoot. It's
depending on which version of Star Wars you watch.
He shot first.
It depends on how good he is. Did he shoot first? Yes, he bloody did. That's the whole point. Did he shoot second? Oh, it's all right. He's cuddly smuggler. You know? Anyway, let's not dwell, because that ends poorly.
You know, he looks out for number one. Well, that's what we see in A New Hope. That's what he's looking out for, number one, gets caught up in things. So, you know, to say he shot first, I mean, George Lucas didn't like that he shot first originally, but, like, what does it matter? You know,
it matters hugely. You've just defined him as a desperado. You've just defined him as a bit of a scoundrel, right? And there's that fine line between, you know, looking after himself and self-defense and being a cuddly smuggler. And everything, it's all in that statement. And, you know, I could bore you, and I'm sure if you go to the internet, there are people willing to argue to the death. It's a hill they will die on about that he should have shot first. I'm not so much bothered about it, but it does massively influence his character. Because if you are saying he's desperate, if you are saying he's after number one, he shoots first. If you're saying, oh, yeah, he shoots second.
Yeah, I mean, it points to his experience in the galaxy as well. You know, he knows he needs to do it just to survive. It's all about surviving, isn't it? Especially in the Outer Rim.
Well, I think Greedo is going to bring him in cold at that point. You know, so
yeah.
And then we see Jabba in the remastered version. But why they put that in there is just a bit daft.
Because they could.
Stepping over the tail thing was a bit disrespectful as well. It was like,
well, it's only because they CGI'd over the original bloke acting in it, who wasn't, strangely enough, a 15-foot slug. You know, he was just a bloke in a fur coat, and they CGI'd heavily that out. But yeah, let's not dwell too much on my pet peeves of Star Wars. Let's just move on.
Yeah, so there are quite a lot of desperate characters in that bar, and what we see from there was a book, Tales from the Cantina. That I don't know if you remember that, but what we find, I mean, I know this way, Dave. It's weirdly enough on my screen I'm looking at, it's the other way round. So it's like, oh, that's a bit confusing. Anyway, so in that book we see tales about there was Jawas in there. There was all sorts of stuff going on in that bar, and the weirdest one is the actual barman himself, who actually turns out that all the offcuts, shall we say, from things like Obi-Wan chopping arms off and stuff like that.
Today's special.
he basically goes and liquidizes all the corpses and everything, and serves them up as drinks in the bar.
It's like the Roadkill Cafe, that really, isn't it? You can't fault his green credentials there, recycling to the max.
Mm.
But at the same token, I seem to remember something about that story which was really interesting. Probably not worth dwelling on too much because we're talking about Scum and Villainy, but you've got all these different species from around the galaxy popping in for a quick snifter before they jump on a freighter or something. What is poisonous to one species might be great for another species and get them right off their chops. So, a barman's role suddenly goes from being sort of like someone who just dishes up, pie and chips, to basically someone who can dish up, has to be an advanced chemist to know what will or will not kill his clientele. Or in some cases, kill them so he can shove them down the chute and make tomorrow's special album. So,
exactly. That's exactly the point I was just about to make. He doesn't care. It just becomes the next bit on the menu, doesn't he?
So actually, maybe he is the scummiest and villainest of the lot.
Yeah. So, bit crazy there. So, we move from the cantina then, and we'll move. We've already mentioned Jabba, so let's go off to Jabba's palace, because there's not much else we see in Mos Eisley apart from the hangar bay, and there's not a lot to talk about for that. So Jabba's palace is the next big set we see. This is not all that's going on Tatooine as well, but Jabba's palace, obviously, that's his command HQ of all these criminal enterprises and everything that's going on there. And obviously, that's his base. So he spreads out from that, and he's got all his fingers in dirty little pies and mixed in with other criminal enterprises as well, such as Crimson Dawn and things like that. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But we seem to have all the bounty hunters there, all coming and going off on contracts, hands smuggling for him, so we know all that's going on. But have we ever seen any like black marketeers and all that? Because all this contraband is all coming in and going. I don't remember seeing any outlet for all this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
It's sort of there in the background. You kind of assume it's happening, and then you've got the likes of Lando. I mean, maybe not in the film so much, but certainly in Rebels, he's dodgy. He's basically space's own Del Boy, trying to sell dodgy things back and forth across the galaxy. And then you've got Hondo and Arco, who's a little bit dodgy, selling dodgy stuff from one place to another. And there's that other guy who's just got that big, small red clothes and massive chin, whose name I can't remember, but he's always selling dodgy stuff. So there's lots of little outlets, lots of little characters.
So as Morgan, is it that one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
There's always geezers selling dodgy stuff. Carefully liberated, recently found. Don't ask too many questions. The equivalent of like buying five DVD players from the pub kind of thing.
Yeah,
they're always up to it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go on, mate.
I was just going to also mention about obviously from the other movies and stuff. You see about the spice trade in the prequels. You've got the death sticks. You've got the spice, which is mentioned throughout of
rethink your life choices.
Clone Wars. Yeah. So it's really interesting. You start to see the underbelly of everything as it starts to the world start to develop.
Yeah, and I think it fleshes out Star Wars as well as not just being a black and white sort of thing where you've got rebels against Empire, clones against separatists, and things. Having that undercurrent of all the crime that's going on, and I can do this for you, and then you can do that for you. I can lay a trap, or it adds a lot of world building to the whole thing of Star Wars itself. But like as well as that, I've been making my way through the Clone Wars, and I've just got through all the slavery episodes. I was like, wow, that was so dark that like Kenobi was put into slavery. I was like, wow, did not know that. And that was really hardcore, those episodes. They're just going, yeah, I'm just going to kill a load of slaves. If you don't behave, Kenobi, all this lot are all dead. And he actually, they do that in the cartoon as well. There you go. You're off down the pit. I was like, wow, that was really brave of those, you know, of Dave Filoni, weren't he? He was in charge of all Clone Wars and all that. And I thought, wow, that's really dark to put that in there like that. And obviously, you know, there was issues there with Anakin with slavery as well. It was like, whew.
Oh, just wait till later on. You know, slavery is the least of his crimes. But anyway, I was going to say that
that touches with Jedi, with Jabba's palace.
Yeah, you also see it. You also see it in Solo as well, the film Solo, because you've got the whole Kessel shenanigans, where there's loads of people being, you know, physically coerced into working to dig out spice and to dig out the coaxial stuff. Yeah. And, you know, even in the wider universe, you've got the Empire using slaves. Apparently, most of the Death Star, I seem to remember, was built by Wookiees because they're hardy workers. So, you know, the original Death Star was off the back of getting them to work in space. And I just kind of wonder what kind of spacesuit a Wookiee would have used. So maybe they didn't think that out, because spacesuits aren't cheap, and, you know, they're 7 foot tall. So, you know.
Just made out of fur.
Well, exactly, yeah. So, or made out of wood. Who knows? Because, you know, those crazy guys from Kashyyyk, they'll use wood for all sorts of things. They love their wood.
Exactly. So
yeah.
But we can see, like, slavery is a big thing that runs all the way through Star Wars. Like what you said, Anakin was a slave to start with as well, which we touched on in the first film, when he gets bought out of slavery by Qui-Gon and that through the pod race and a bet. And then rescues him, but his mum stays a slave. And then we touch upon the next lot of slavers, the Sand People. So they obviously had his mum, didn't they? They were slavers as well. But as well as that, in The Mandalorian, we see that, you know, because there's no marshal in that mining town, or whatever that town is, that the Crate Dragon episode is. No marshal. Woof. In come the slavers. Take them all over. There we go. They're all done. Along comes the marshal. Bang, bang, bang.
Mm-hmm.
With a Boba Fett armor and
just like that.
Yeah, bang, bang, bang.
You watch your fingers. Watching your fingers.
I'll put explosions on the finger guns. But slavery is a massive thing all the way through all of the Mandalorian and all that. It just shows that, you know, the lawlessness on Tatooine, that anybody can just move in, you know, subtle things just change, and all of a sudden, back, the storyline's completely changed just like that. And I think,
from a philosophical point, you've touched on something there, the fact that Scum and Villainy, that a lot of their trade is in slaves, in livestock, as it were. But then you've also got droids. So maybe there's this hierarchy that the rich can afford droids and the poor can afford to basically just go and wake someone into slavery. So, there's a whole philosophical, economical strata developing here.
When you touch on droids, the Jawas, obviously running around.
They're always touching droids.
Stealing whatever they can, or scavenging. They're not really stealing. Yeah. Are they stealing? They just, there's a droid running past. Oh, Tinny! We'll have that one.
You know what? If they were wearing Adidas trainers, they might as well just be living in central London, you know? Sort of like, they'll have your spaceship up on bricks before you can pop off to Villavi.
Yeah, you just got to go and get an egg for them to get your stuff.
That's a good exchange rate, though. One egg for a spaceship.
Yeah,
and people are complaining that they can't afford droids. So they keep having to get slaves. So I don't know. But
trying to find a Cadbury's cream egg when it's not Easter, that's the thing, you see. That would be how we equate to that one.
And it did cost him his armour as well.
Yeah.
You know how valuable Beskar is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean these are good points, but also, you know, let's face it, that Cadbury's cream egg also needed hair gel, so you know there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Jawas covered, miners, slavers. So we're now getting to the the hardcore stuff of everything. So we'll start with the Clone Wars. We've got the Shadow Collective. So Maul sets up the Shadow Collective with the terrorists, the Death Watch, as part of that, to take over Mandalore, and then they fall out and Maul. Oh, spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Maul ends up in control of Mandalore, and that's Mandalore actually has an influence on so many other neutral systems around it and everything. That's why that Mandalore is really important to the rest of the galaxy. And we can see, I think, in Clone Wars, the Emperor is constantly trying to get control of Mandalore, because he knows if he doesn't, they bring the Jedi into check, basically. The power of Mandalore keeps the Jedi in check. They're never gonna.
You haven't seen all the Clone Wars yet, have you?
No.
You haven't seen. You're in for a treat. Spoilers, treat. That's all I'm going to say, because it gets towards the end of season 6. I think it gets very Mandalorian, and there's lots of interesting points about.
I've seen season 7. I kind of
have you now? But you haven't seen season 6?
No, I'm on season 4.
Okay, yeah. Give it about 2 seasons, and all will be revealed.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, definitely right with the Shadow Collective, and it's interesting because the Shadow Collective gets mentioned a lot. You mentioned Crimson Dawn already, and again this afternoon, it's a quiet one. Watched Solo again, and that's had a nice bit of Crimson Dawn on it. I mean, I'm starting to warm to it on about the 3rd or 4th time of seeing it. There's just too much in the early part of it that makes me wince, but hey, let's not dwell. But the other thing is that there's also a group called the Pikes, isn't it?
Yeah, they're on my list as well. They're part of the Shadow Collective.
Every time I hear it, I just think, don't tell me your name, Pike. And it just goes to show my age, really.
Yeah. I hear you on that. I mean, they're in season 7 as well. They're a big part of that with the Ahsoka storyline. But you've got the Pikes. Then you've got what is Lady Proxima? What is her gang called?
I think they're just scum. They're just like sewer rats, because she's a great big slug living in a sewer, isn't she?
It's like
allergic to sunlight.
It's like a Fagin type thing, isn't it?
Fagin, yeah.
For Dickens Fagin sort of group, very sort of minor, but they've got access to a lot of decent kit, and the fact that they're influencing people at the starport as well shows that just a Mickey Mouse sort of band of criminals. You know what I mean? They're
Black Sun a thing in the new universe, because they were in sort of like the original stuff, but then I don't know if they've just been edited out a lot.
Black Sun goes through everything. Black Sun is in the Shadow Collective, in the Clone Wars. It goes through all of it, and then Black Sun famously run by Prince Shizor. So that's how you say it. You don't say Zizor, it's Shizor. I've done my research today. So yeah, Prince Shizor was like
having a seizure.
Shizor.
Having a seizure
on the seashore. But apparently he was like the 3rd most influential person in the galaxy behind Vader and the Emperor. And he had a massive palace on Coruscant. So you had the Imperial Palace, and then you had Prince Caesar with an equal sort of almost equal sized palace next to that. But so he had a bit of a grudge with Vader, and the rumor is it that Vader basically defeated him because he wanted Star dead. So in Shadows of the Empire, young Skywalker shows up Prince Caesar, and he mentions his name over the radio or something. Skywalker's on that Falcon, kill that Falcon, and Vader intercepts that and sends out TIE fighters to dispatch all the Star Vipers that he set after the Falcon. So that's how he comes to his end. But yeah, so Black Sun is probably one of the biggest criminal organisations as well. Done all my research. I was waiting for Alan, and I had some reading to do.
Very impressive. And I just thought it was a Soundgarden song. So there you go.
That's Black Hawkson, isn't it?
Close enough.
It's really impressive what Mulder manages to do, though, to bring all these crime syndicates together to make like a big you know, what's that word?
Collective.
So, because that's no easy feat. And, you know, he's one guy, obviously, with Clone Wars, he has his brothers have, and he comes up with this plan, and this plan technically could rival the Emperor's. Bring all these crime syndicates together, your power is almost unlimited.
Yeah. Which is why he was number 3 on my list above Vader. Was he number 2? 2, weren't it? There we go. It's really impressive, right? He was a master of puppets. Yeah, so it's very impressive, and it's really good the way they wove all the story into it. That I haven't actually seen the whole story yet, but it's just awesome how they managed to do that. And then you've got like Dryden Voss. He's a big one in Solo, but he's like the face of Crimson Dawn. So when he's killed by Kira, is he killed by Kira? Yeah,
yes.
Kira, yeah. So Kira then becomes the face of Crimson Dawn, promoted by Darth Maul. But I think we'd all like to see how that plays out. Even Han Solo himself would like to see that play out, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I would. I think there's this like slim tranche of time left in the Star Wars universe that hasn't really been plumbed. Just kind of the end of the Solo story and the start of the Star Wars story. It's probably only a year or two, but it'd be really interesting to see what happens there.
Between 5 and 10 years between the two.
Is it?
Yeah. Supposedly.
Doesn't feel like it, because he's going off talking about this big time gangster, which is at the end of Solo. He's referring to his deal with Jabba, where he goes off and does some smuggling there.
Yeah, but he's never going to get a big job straight away, is he? He's going to have to do a few jobs before you land a big job with a gangster, aren't you? You've got to prove.
Fair enough. Yeah, but to start with, I think at the end of that, you had to get the Falcon, which was a trick. But yeah, anyway, but definitely some of that going on. So there's this period where you've seen the Rebels side of it, which was kind of almost like an idealized piece. But even that Rebels thing stopped short with Ezra. Spoiler warning: Ezra running off into space with space squid or whatever it is, space whales, whichever you want to put it. And that's all going to come flying back in, because obviously, you're talking about Ahsoka, you're talking about the Mandalorian. There's lots of hints that that's going to start rolling into the next narrative they start plumbing, because you've got that period of she goes off trying to find Ezra, and then like I'm guessing about 10 years later she is still looking for Ezra. So there's something going on there. And I think they want to bring back Thrawn for some reason, because he's awesome, and he was with Ezra in Space Whale City, wherever that is they went and ended up. So yeah, there's a lot of time and a lot of interesting things that can happen in that period. So let's see what happens.
Well, the other thing I noticed is that there are a lot of the Rangers are going to be dealing with. Well, I was reading up, they mentioned Rangers in there as well.
Yeah, but that's Rangers of New Republic. So I guess that's post, and I've also got the Rogue Squadron film coming out. That's going to be post all everything, isn't it? So
that's completely new at the other end, isn't it? That's past the Resistance.
That's just going to be Top Gun with spaceships, isn't it?
Yeah.
All you want, really. Yeah.
So the Rangers, obviously, they seem to be the law enforcers of the galaxy. We see that in The Mandalorian as well, when we have the Mercenaries episode where they're going to free the other guy, the Twi'lek chap, who they fall out with and re-imprison. So, or they'll get blown up anyway, don't they? They're all on space station and get blown up.
Yeah, why not?
So, we see the enforcers traveling the galaxy in X-wings. How cool is that?
Yeah.
It's not your average police car, that is it? Oh,
no, but you'd probably want some Bon Jovi music playing over, like Wanted Dead or Alive or something like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but that could equally be a bounty hunter's track, couldn't it?
True. Yes. So back to Scum again. See, it works.
Warm or cold.
Yeah.
So I can see there being a lot more Scum to come in Rangers and New Republic, because that's basically going to be their cop show, isn't it? Anyway.
Space cops.
There's some really good story. There are some really good stories and throughout where it's a small crew doing a job. In the Clone Wars, do you remember the episode with young Boba with his little crew, and they go onto that train to do a job?
No, I've only seen young Boba in the prison with Morello Evil and they have a go at.
Well, there's some great stories like that. You've got the whole Beckett thing in Solo. They're doing a job for a crime syndicate to survive. And then you've got obviously the job where they go rescue that guy from the prison. You've got these big crime syndicates controlling slavery and that. But you've also just got these little crews that are trying to survive by just doing whatever little jobs come their way.
Yeah. And that's really cool. That's what I like about Rogue One. We see a completely different team. Before it's always been, these are the good guys. And you're like, this is basically Ocean's 11. Star Wars Ocean's 11. Right, okay.
Space heist.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Isn't it? So I love Solo. I think it's just great. You're just taken on a roller coaster ride, and it's just like, yeah, this is really cool. Seen it loads of times. A lot more times than you have, Pam.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I've only got so much time.
You really did not like that film.
Who?
You did originally. You were like, no.
It's like I'm starting to warm to it. There are so many things. I mean, that's a whole evening's half an hour grumble in itself. I could grumble for at least 43 minutes on why that film could have done so much better. If nothing else, shaved off about 40 minutes, everyone wins. But
I don't know how you do that. I just loved it from start to finish.
Yeah, well,
really, really
fair
good.
enough. Okay, it was
definitely an underrated film. It was a lot. The critics didn't help with it at all.
You can't look at how the critics rate it. You have to see these things for yourself, because if somebody's not getting their little free perks or anything like that, they go, "Well, I didn't like that film. Didn't get a little goodie bag at the premiere," or things like that. You can't look at critics. You have to look at the fans' reviews of stuff.
To be honest, I looked at the director and thought Ron Howard hasn't done anything I liked since Willow. So,
oh my word, unbelievable!
Willow's great though.
Rush, that was awesome.
Yeah, whatever.
About any of that anyway. So
yeah, totally.
One we haven't mentioned, and that's probably because we don't really look at these things, is Unkar Plutt.
God!
In Force Awakens, and he's there just exploiting all the population.
Is that a slavery gig again? So even in the New Republic, they've just rebranded slavery as sort of like, we're going to give you a fair cut, but we're going to assess that fair cut in a non-fair way.
Nah, it's like porn stars or porn, where you've got the population there, and they're all coming in. Oh, what can you give me? I really need this to be able to eat. And they're like, no, how much do you want? Oh yeah, I want 5 meals. That'll sort me out for the week. No, I'll give you half a meal for that. You know what I mean?
What have you been watching on the internet? That is not what I've expected to hear you say.
What? Hardcore porn is a program about porn, like not sex porn. We're talking about porn brokers. All right?
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that point, because I was going to say, typing this into my browser, and it's like, oh, dearie me, that's not a family show.
Exploit all the people that are in their local population. They come in and bring.
And yeah, strangely, that is similar. Yeah, okay.
They're trying to make the biggest profit they can, and when you know that someone hasn't got an option, it's like, you take what I give you or you starve.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, really.
I need this to get gas to get home.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I'll give you 5p for that. And I'm like, what? All right. I'll take my 5p. I'll get a little drip out of the nozzle.
Again, something I didn't expect. You're not helping your case in. But no, I kind of get the impression, and this is something that might follow on to if we ever talk about the Resistance at some stage. The New Republic tier it's landed, it's trying to put right all of the things that were bad about the empire. What was bad about the empire? Slavery was bad about the empire. Okay, so your slavery is illegal, but forced work isn't. And like you just said, you know, supply, demand. If someone has got more demand than they're willing to supply, then yeah, obviously you're going to exploit that situation if you are a scummy villain kind of guy. So yeah, I definitely think that there's something to be said for that. Although I think, you know, the whole, I don't even know what that is. It's sort of like the stuff that you add water and it turns into bread. I mean, wow, that's pretty cool.
Flour, an oven, an egg. You know.
Well, no, it's like you don't need any of that. You just stick it in a metal tray and drop a couple of drops of water on it, and boom, there's your bread. That's really cool.
Oh, right, you're talking
Here's
about
your portions. That's nifty.
It is good, yeah. Right. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. So we've got to leave it there. But I've started up a Patreon, which is coming along. I'm doing a lot of extra work there. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. And thank you all for watching. Thanks for coming on, guys. It's been quite a good one. It got a bit outrageous at the end there, but I think we got through it. Anyway, this is the way.
Mentos, this is the way.
Hardcore porn. Hardcore porn. What
Isn't
are
that
you
called
doing
porn
to me, man?
stars?
Ah. Well,
Kids, don't Google search this unless you're of an appropriate age. Finger guns.
All a good bit of fun anyway.
Let's cheer me up.